Hi, welcome back and thanks for joining me. This is Jonna with Purple Girl Crafts. Today we're going to be making this slider card. As you can see, when you pull on the lever, they separate and you'll get a message on the inside. And then for the inside piece, I used part of the designer paper. It did have some sentiments in it, so I used that. So let's just go ahead and get started. So our first piece, this is going to be cut at 11 by 5. On the 11-inch side, we are going to score that at 5.5. And then you can just fold that in half, make sure your edges are lined up, and then just crease out that fold. Then we will need one piece, and this is plastic, and this is just from a wrapper that I got. This is 2 inches by 8.5. It can be about 8 inches. You don't need that whole 8.5 inches. Then we will need 2 pieces, and these are going to be cut at 1/4 by 4.5. Then you will need one piece at 4.5 by 5. You will need one piece at 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. One piece, this is for the inside, at 4 1/4 by 5. And then again, that sentiment that I talked about, this is 3 by 4 inches. And then you'll need 2 pieces that are 2 by 4.5. Right, so that is all the pieces that we need. You can see this green one, that is the back of the plaid size paper. So I kind of swapped those when we're working on it, but I'll show you that. Right, so we're done with our scoreboard. We're going to grab our trimmer. And for the piece that is the bigger piece, which is 4 3/4 by 5 3/4, we're going to cut some slits in here. So we're going to line this up so that it is at 1 inch from the edge. And we're going to go down and score it from 3.5 to 1.5. Then you're going to lift it up and just lift it up just a little bit, and you're going to do the same thing. So you just want a slit in there about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch wide, and we're going to do the same measurement. Then you're going to slide it all the way to the other end, line it up on that 1 inch mark, and then go in to 3.5 and go down to 1.5. And then again, just go on the inside of that now. So lift up your blade, just push your paper down just a little bit. You just want to do that extra little cut so that we can cut that piece out. Okay, so that is that piece. We'll set that one aside. Now for this piece, this is going to be the piece that's going to be on the top. And this is the plaid paper. So this is the one that is 4.5 by 5. We're going to line this up to about 1 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to cut this. And we're going to cut it from 4 inches down to 1 inch. We're going to cut it 1 inch from each end, all the way down. Then lift it up, and you're going to do it on the other side. So go in about 1 1/8 inch and cut it from 1 inch in to 1 inch down. And so you should have this piece right here. All right, so we're done with our scoreboard, our trimmer. So we're going to move that out of the way. And we're going to work on this piece. So I'm going to grab my knife, and we're going to cut out that little piece that we did. So I'm just going to cut right at the ends. So you should have just this little slit in there, and that's for that plastic to pull through. So again, this is the piece that has the beads on one side and it's a plaid on the other side. So we're going to take that piece and we're going to put it through. Just put it through both ends. And then you're just going to lay this flat on the table, and we're just going to fold it over on itself, and then we're going to secure it. So we're going to end up putting tape on one end. Now I'm going to use the red tape on this, or you could use your white tape, either one. I'm just going to put it right at the very edge, the tape on the end and then on the sides. And then once you have that secure, you just want to lay that down. Grab your other piece. Now you want to pull it and make sure it's straight, but don't make it too tight. You don't want to make it really tight because then it won't roll. So you want to give it just a little bit of give. Take off that top piece of the tape and then just fold your flap down again, making sure that it's straight. And then just lay it on there and then just press that tape down. And as you can see, it slides pretty good. Now for the extra piece, just go ahead and take your scissors and just cut that off. It's not going to be in the way and it's not needed. So that's for the bottom piece. Now this is going to be the bottom side, and I'm just making sure it's rolling and it's rolling freely. So the yellow side is, flat side is the side that we're going to be facing upward. And I'm going to grab our two little strips. We're going to measure this because we want to put this right in the middle. So I want to make sure that I'm right in the middle. I'm just going to draw a line. And you want to make sure that piece that you tape, the tape is lined up right there. And then we're just going to put tape right in the middle. I know you can't see it, but where I taped it the first time, it's right in that same spot. So I'm just going to lay that red piece over the top of that one. You want to make sure you don't get this over the end. So I'm just going to cut that extra tape off. Okay, perfect. And then use your bond folder to go ahead and just push that tape, make sure it's secure. And then we're going to take this green piece and we're going to put it right on top. It doesn't have to be exactly even because we're going to end up cutting some of the sides of it off anyway. You just want to make sure that it's on there. So I'm going to pull the top piece of that tape off. And then I'm just going to secure that little yellow piece for the green side. This is not going to be seen, so it doesn't matter. You can do either side. And I just go ahead and secure that down. And then again, now you can see that it really does move very well. All right, for the next part, we're going to fasten these two pieces down and they're going to be secured together. But before we do that, we're going to put tape on here too. Now this piece, we're going to measure on here. And I'm just doing it on one of the pieces. They're both the same size. It just depends on which one you want facing up. We're going to go in about 3/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to put a light pencil mark. And you're going to do that on both sides. And then what we're going to do is we're only going to put tape in that center section. So we're only going to put tape in this little area. And this one, you want to make sure that your edges are straight. So I'm just going to cut a piece off. I'm just going to cut my ends. So I'm going to start that one end right around that pencil line that I drew, and then secure the other side down, and then cut it off right before it gets to that other line. The purpose of this is so that that little slider will slide and not get caught on the card. And then just go ahead and secure that tape down. And then we're going to take that other piece that we cut and we're going to put this right on top. Again, you don't have to make sure it's exactly centered because they're going to be a little bit too long and we're going to end up cutting some of it off. So you just want to make sure that it's at the very edge at the top, and you can see you've got that little clearance on both sides. So you're just going to lay this down so it's lined up in the middle with the other one. So my paper hasn't moved on the first one. Turn it over, and we're going to put a piece of tape right on the edge where this card meets the piece. So again, I'm just going to use my white tape. I'm just going to tear a piece and put it right so it's lined up right exactly on the edge. And then I'm going to cut that little piece off. Now, if this moves, it's okay, and you'll see in a minute we're going to move this. Don't worry about it because we can line it back up again. So you just want to make sure it's lined up like that. And then for the other piece, this piece is going to go on the top here, but now we've got to put tape on this piece. So we're going to put tape just on the top. Again, you can remove this and put it back together so it's okay. This piece of tape can go from edge to edge. So just make sure it's secure. All right, so one more time, we're going to just turn this over, make sure that piece is in the center. Then we're going to line that second piece up so that it's in line and covers the plastic so it's straight. Flip it back over. Your line should be even with the tape. We're going to remove that piece of tape. If you were afraid of this moving, you could put a little piece of tape on the front somewhere just to hold it down, but you don't need to. Now we're going to secure this. So we're going to take the piece of tape off of here. And then that's going to be the top, so it's going to get glued to the plastic. And the other piece, I'm going to line up the bottom. And then it'll grab that tape right there at the end and then secure that piece down. And then this is your working mechanism for your card. Then this piece is going to go on top. So this piece will be on the top of the card. But before we do that, we need to put glue or tape on the bottom of these two pieces. And you want to put tape just on the top and the two sides, not at the bottom on either one of them. So that's the tape on that one. And then for this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put tape on it. Make sure those are folded back together. So again, so this is the paper. Make sure that if you're taping it, you've got your message. If you've got one pre-printed, going the correct way. So if we have tape on all of that, go ahead and just secure that down. And then I'm going to start these. So I'm just going to pull off just a tiny bit on each end just to get it started. And then we'll do our last one. And so when you put this on, make sure your message is going the correct way. And what we're going to do, let me just change hands to make it easier. So you're just going to slide those two little tabs, just slide them through that little slit so they're on the top. And then the other two, you kind of have to work them because these are a little long, but if you do them together, you can kind of just bend them and force them through that slit, and it won't hurt the card at all, and then they'll be through. And then you want to line up that piece of paper. And once you have it lined up, go ahead and just pull those tabs and secure it down. And now your card is together for the basic part of the mechanism. And then you can see as you pull it away, you can see how the mechanism is pulling and working. All right, for the inside of the card, this piece is going to get glued to here. So we're going to take the glue off of the back of these. Again, the same thing. I'm just going to pull off a little bit, line it up. I've got the fold of the card at the top. And then once I have it lined up, I'm just going to pull those tabs off and secure it. Now for the inside, we're going to put the two extra pieces. So we're going to put the black polka dot paper on the top, and then I'm going to put this message just at an angle just a little bit. And this time I'm just going to use my glue. And then we'll secure this one down. And again, I'm going to put it at an angle, just like that. All right, so that's the basic mechanism for the card. Now I'm going to take this end, it's just a little bit too long, and we're going to cut this off to about 6 1/4. So I'm just going to cut that end off. It wasn't glued on the end, so it's not going to hurt anything. It's still secured right at the edge of the card. For the decorations, we're going to do the bees and the flowers. I found the easiest way to do this is the two little pieces, the little levers that are pulling up and down. The smaller you make them, The further room you have to put stuff in, the further it will move. However, they're a little bit small. So what I did is I pulled out I did some punches, about a 1/2 inch punch, just a circle punch. And this way you can glue these to that little stem so you have extra room. Let me just show you. We'll do this top one. So I cut that piece back just a little bit because it was a little too long. That way you have room to put a pop dot so that you have room to glue it, because the pop dot might get stuck and be too big for this little area. So I'm just going to put glue on that little lever, and then I'm going to glue that pop dot or the circle dot down to it, making sure there's no glue underneath it. And actually, as you open and close the card, you can see it moves freely. And again, this is just to help if you're when you glue stuff on here, you've got more room to glue. And I'm going to use just a little bit bigger of a pop dot. And I'm just going to put that right in the middle. And my first bee, he's going to sit right on the edge right there. Now, as you decorate this, and I'm not going to explain everything I'm doing. I'm just going to walk you through some of the stuff. So you want to cut the little excess pieces off of the sides that are moving up and down. Put your circles on there if you want to. You don't need to, but it just helps that you've got a little bit more gluing room. Make sure there's no glue underneath them. And then open and close your card a couple of times before you glue something down to make sure it's not going to hit. The bees are on a pop dot, so they're raised up a little bit, so they shouldn't get in the way when you glue. So I'm going to use my stronger glue on these ones. I put a pop dot on the bottom, or a dot on the bottom, put some glue on there. And as I close this, you can see that it's not in the way because you want to make sure it doesn't hit and mess up your card. Oh, and I forgot to put the bees' wings on, so I'm going to do those really quick. Those I just did with the, I can't think what the paper's called. I'm sorry. Old age. Right, so I'm just going to sneak these bee wings back on because I forgot to put those on there. Let's put those there. And the bottom bee is going to go on the bottom. Now again, these are too long, so I'm just going to cut it off. And then I'll put another dot on top. I'm only doing it on the one so that it can still slide apart. And then secure that dot on there. If it's overhanging, you can go ahead and just cut it off. So I'm just going to cut it off just a little bit, just so it's not in the way. And then we'll put this bee on. We'll put another pop dot on this one. So the two bees are the only ones that will be on pop dots. I'll put him kind of at an angle, kind of in and at an angle so that he sits right about there. Okay, nothing's hitting as I open and close it. And then for the top one, we'll put a flower on. So again, I'm going to cut this away just a little bit. And glue another dot on. I'm just going to cut just a little, make it a little flat on the bottom. And then we'll glue that flower on here. Do it just a little bit at an angle and down, just a little bit, because I don't want it to cover the words. And this is when it's fully open, because I think you have to make sure that your words are going to show when you open the card all the way. So that's perfect. Doesn't get in the way. Yeah, I don't like that one there. So we won't put that one there. Just going to pop that off just a little bit. It's just hanging out just a little bit. I'm going to put this double one, I'm going to put it right behind the B on the top. So I'm going to secure it to the B so it'll slide up and down and be a little bit higher again. I'm just going to secure it right to the back of his head and his wing. Right, so I still have just a little bit of the sentiment showing. So I'm going to put this last one, I'm going to put it on the bee's hand. Because that way it will hide the message. And then when the card opens, it'll go with him. So that looks pretty cute like that. Again, this is all about you've got to make sure that you've got enough layers so that things will slide up and down behind each other. Perfect. Right, so then we'll take that last flower and we're just going to glue it to the top of the card. Just right there. And that doesn't get in the way, so that's good. And then I'll grab some hearts. And these are just a little bit of foam hearts, so they're not too big. But if you put these on, make sure again that your flowers aren't going to hit it when you open and close the card. I'm just going to test it out, and they're good. They don't hit. And then I'll put one more at the top. And that's perfect. And then what we need is we need one more thing. We need just a little bit arrow, and I'm going to put just an arrow, put it right at the bottom, just like that. So that way the person who gets the card knows how to open it. So that is the card that we want to make, that we made today. I want to thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Until next time, happy crafting, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.